10 Forward Weekly was tonight, so we got a look at the new Alliance Pilot Escort, which is going to be the prize for this year's anniversary event. So let's dive in and get a first impression of this thing. Okay, I'm going to try to make this first impression review kind of quick because I've been awake since 4 in the morning and I'd like to go to bed soon. Yeah, anyway, this is the Alliance Rex Pilot Escort, which is going to be the prize for this year's anniversary event, which is going to be starting later this month. Before we start going over the ship, I do want to call attention to one thing, and that's this quad cannon up here. A number of people asked if there were going to be any anti-proton quad cannons equipped on this thing, like we've gotten other quad cannons in the past, and I want you all to know that this is not an anti-proton quad cannon. This is the disruptor quad cannon that came off of the legendary Bortosk. Kale just had this equipped on here for some reason, I don't really know why. But yeah, I just want to make sure that no one gets their hopes up because there is not going to be an anti-proton quad cannon equipped on this ship when you pick it up. Now, that aside, this is still a pretty cool ship and did come with some surprises. One of which was, remember when I suspected that this was going to have wingmen because of the description in the first blog? Well, that's confirmed. This is going to have wingmen. Functionally, they are the same as the normal wingman mechanic that you get on any other Vanguard ship. They're going to have all the same powers. The only difference here is that they changed the costume on them so that they also run the new Rex skin on it. This is something I'm very excited to see because it's something I have been asking for ages now because, I've said this many times at this point. In fact, it's the second time today I've said this, that the wingman mechanic is one of the most fun ship mechanics in Star Trek Online, in my opinion, but it's also one of the most underutilized because it's only ever used on Jem'Hadar Vanguard ships, and this is the first time we're seeing this on a ship that isn't a Vanguard ship. I mean, it is still technically Dominion adjacent because it's an Alliance ship, but I would love to see more of this. I would love to see more use of the Vanguard mechanic more use of the wingman mechanic on ships that aren't Jem'Hadar Vanguard ships. Because clearly they're capable of changing the costume on these things, so I don't see why they can't, start putting this on other kinds of ships. Anyway, onto the Rex itself. It's got a 5.2 weapons layout with an experimental weapon. It's got a new experimental weapon. We'll get into that in a bit. 5.2 weapons layout. It's going to be really nice for a forward-facing build, which, usually what you want with an escort, especially a nimble one like this. So it's going to be good for cannon or dual beam banks. It's got 3 device slots, and the consoles are going to be 2 engineering, 4 science, and 5 tactical. This means that this ship isn't going to be that great for isomag consoles, but you're going to have plenty of room for those Spire consoles. The new experimental weapon on this ship is called the Inertial Polaron Shunt, and what this does is, well, it fires Polaron damage, obviously, but its haste will increase the faster that your ship is going, maxing out at 200% haste for this weapon at 180 speed. Now, typically, I'm not a fan of mechanics that are related to making me go faster because I'm typically the kind of person that likes to sit more stationary when I'm, dealing damage. I don't like to be, zipping around all over the place because then stuff's just, zipping in and out of my firing arcs, and that's annoying. So on that account, it means I'm probably not going to use this experimental weapon all that much, but this does have the unique feature of being an experimental weapon that deals a typical damage type, it's something that your normal weapons would normally deal, because it deals Polaron damage. So this is going to be buffed by your other Polaron buff consoles. So if you're running a Polaron build, this could actually be a pretty decent experimental weapon, whether you're moving around really quickly around a map or not. But if you're not running a Polaron build, then I would probably just run something basic like the Soliton Wave Impeller or, what's that new one off the Cyclone? The Starship trait is called Inertial Supremacy, and while this is active, anytime you activate an AoE firing mode, so that's Cannon Scatter Volley or Beam Fire at Will, you'll be able to apply some damage resistance debuffs to your enemies. And this debuff will scale to your ship's speed, maxing out at a minus 50 debuff at 240 speed. So this is another one that's tied into speed, so I'm already kind of about it. But at the same time, debuff is a pretty nice to have, and that's a good amount of damage resistance debuff. So this could end up being a pretty decent budget alternative to something like Superior Area Denial, which is also commonly used for its ability to debuff damage resistance on your enemies. In fact, if you can keep your speed up, this will actually give a higher debuff than Superior Area Denial. So I imagine this one will have its place among the player base, and in fact, the speed factor on this one probably means it'll probably be pretty decent for PvP builds. Next is the console, which is called Elite Alliance Squadron Beacon. It's got a passive to crit severity, only gives 8% to crit severity, and plus 10% to flight speed, which aren't a lot. Like, crit severity is always nice, but 8% isn't a lot, and, you know, flight speed is flight speed. It can be nice to have, but it's not going to affect your damage all that much. The click ability is Elite Alliance Squadron, which will summon in 4 different pets that will fight alongside you for 45 seconds. Each pet will be from one of the main Alliance factions, so you'll get a Federation Escort, a Romulan Warbird, a Klingon Bird of Prey, and a Jem'Hadar Fighter. They'll stick around for 45 seconds, dealing a certain amount of damage to nearby enemy foes, and while it's not going to be a lot of damage because typically pet consoles like this on their own don't do that much damage because that's just kind of how pets are, but the hope here is that this is going to mesh well with other consoles and traits that also buff pets. You know, something like the console and even the trait off of the Hydra. Both of those are meant to work with pets, so hopefully this will work along with those, making both that much more effective. And even if it doesn't, it'll still be amusing for summon builds. Now onto the bridge officer seating. First off, this is going to be a pilot ship, so it's going to have the actual pilot mechanic. However, because it's an event ship, it is not going to have a commander level pilot seat, so it's only going to have a lieutenant commander level pilot seat. In this case, that's going to be on this lieutenant commander engineering seat, which honestly, that's fine. It means you can, you know, you got a good amount of engineering seating for for certain buffs, but at the same time, you can also substitute that in for some pilot seating. You can put clean getaway in here for an unconventional systems trigger, or actually probably what I'll do is you can use synthetic good fortune and fresh from R&R, and then use 2 seats of pilot team here, and then just spam those seats of pilot team to build up a bunch of crit chance. The other specialization seat is going to be Miracle Worker, which is only going to be at the lieutenant level on this tactical seat. And I know some people aren't that thrilled about, you know, a secondary Miracle Worker seat, but honestly, I don't see the problem with it because, I mean, you're going to be able to get narrow sensor bands and mixed armament synergy on here, so that's decent bonus damage. It's not going to be amazing because they're only at the lieutenant level here, but at the same time, it's still going to make this thing a little bit nicer for energy weapon builds. Yeah, Intel would have been a little bit better for unconventional systems triggers, but at the same time, you know, bonus damage is bonus damage. Anyway, also on this ship, we've got a commander level tactical seat because, of course, it's an escort, a lieutenant commander universal seat, so we're going to have a bit of versatility here. We can do whatever we want here, and an ensign level science seat, which makes sense because, I mean, neither the Jem'Hadar attack ship or the Defiant were particularly science heavy. So with the low science seating, you're going to be pretty low on unconventional systems triggers, but the universal seat is going to more than make up for that, so you'll have plenty of room for that, and then you can just do your usual tactical setup over here, and then, you know, do a normal engineering setup over here with like emergency power to weapons 3, and then unstable warp bubble, then emergency power to engines 1, or like I said earlier, you can mix it up with some pilot abilities in here. And then with the Miracle Worker seat, you'll probably just do narrow sensor bands and mixed armament synergy. So we also got some previews of some other stuff that's going to be in the next lockbox, that's going to be called the last generation lockbox, which is going to be based off of stuff from season 3 of Star Trek Picard. So we didn't get a full preview of everything in that, but we did get some looks at some things, and one of which was the lockbox ship, which is going to be the Duderstock class, which called it. And I'm not going to do a full first impression review on this one just because, like I said, I want to go to bed at some point tonight, so this is going to be a separate video. And also I want to wait on this one a little bit until the actual stats blog comes out, because this buff seating is actually bugged, because this is a science spearhead, but they gave it a tactical a commander level tactical seat, which that can't be right. So yeah, I want to wait and see what the actual bridge officer seating is going to be. I will say now, though, I'm not super thrilled about the ship itself, though, because it is a Miracle Worker science spearhead with a secondary pilot seat, which, Miracle Worker, not good for science ships, and pilot seating, only decent for science ships if you have synthetic good fortune. Otherwise, it's really not going to do that much for you. We also got to look at some other stuff coming up, one of which is the Season 3 Star Trek Picard uniform, which I'm very excited about. They didn't confirm how this one's going to be released. There was some question there whether it was going to be in the lockbox or the low-buy store. Typically, new costumes are in the low-buy store, so I would bet on that, but like I said, it could be either or, but probably the low-buy store. They also showed a preview of the Kurleth, which is the sword that Worf was using in that season. Not only is it the sword, but it also has the hidden phaser from the hilt. No idea how that's going to work yet. No one on the stream knew how that was going to work. So I guess we'll just see when this hits the lockbox. So Yeah, that'll be fun to figure out. I do plan to pick one of these up though, just because I've got a full Klingon themed character, so obviously that character needs this sword, and all the better if it's also a ranged weapon. Like I said, I'm eager to find out how this is going to work. We also got to look at a new console that's going to be in the upcoming lockbox. This one's called Anthen Prime Fleet Museum Beacon. The passive stats on it are fairly unimpressive, but the clickability on it is kind of interesting because what it does is summon a hero ship to fight alongside you for 60 seconds. And it's literally exactly what it sounds like. You click it and it'll summon in an allied pet, and that pet can be USS Voyager, USS Defiant, USS Enterprise A, USS Enterprise D, USS Stargazer, USS Saratoga, or USS Lexington. You click it and any one of those will fight alongside you for 60 seconds. Now, much like what I said with the console off the Rex, pet consoles really aren't all that powerful on their own, but these days there's a good amount of stuff that will either buff you for the sake of having pets or buff your pets on their own so they'll do more damage. So, you know, on its own, this isn't going to be a very impressive console, but paired with other stuff, this could be kind of... I mean, it's not going to be super interesting, but it'll be amusing just for the sake of having additional pets, which, again, that's the whole goal of a pet build, is to just summon as many pets as you can. At least it is for me. I am sad that none of these pet consoles summons an Odyssey, because I would love to add more of those to my Odyssey pet spam build. We also got a quick look at a new bridge officer ability called Tractor Beam Catapult, and it lets you hurl an asteroid. That's basically what it does. You hurl an asteroid at your enemy, it'll deal kinetic damage. So the fact that it deals kinetic damage, it'll probably be good for a torpedo build. Really not much else to say there. Kale wasn't able to use it in the live stream, so he didn't get to show it off. So there's really not much more to say about that one beyond just what's here on the tooltip. So yeah, that is the Alliance Rex Pilot Escort, which is going to be the prize for this year's anniversary event, as well as some other stuff that's going to be available in the upcoming Last Generation Lockbox. Like I said, I'll do a full video on the Duderstadt once the actual stats have been released in a blog, because, you know, I don't think we got the correct stats in the 10-4 weekly, because the bridge officer seating is just all wrong for a science vessel. The lockbox announcement should probably also be live by then too, so if there's anything else of note that's being added into those lockboxes, I'll probably cover that in that same video. It probably won't be much because, I mean, we already got a good amount of like what's to come in this preview here, so, you know, if there's anything of note, I'll cover it in that Duderstadt video, but otherwise, I'll just leave it as it is. But yeah, let me know down in the comments what you're most excited about. I imagine a lot of you are going to be pretty hyped about the Rex, just because it's a really cool looking ship. It's got some pretty cool features on it, and yeah, it doesn't have the most amazing stats in the world, but I mean, it's a free ship, and it's a decent free ship. Like, I mean, I don't think it's as amazing as like the Hysperion ship was, but I mean it's better than the Temerian ship that was, and it's better than most other free ships that we've gotten in the past. This is a solid ship, and I feel like a lot of you are going to be excited to fly it. I know I am. But yeah, let me know what you're most excited about, whether it be the Rex or any of the other stuff that we covered in this video. And while you're down there, be sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. I would go through the rest of this intro, but like I said, I'm really tired and I want to go to bed. So I'll see you guys next time. I'm going to edit this real quick and then go pass out.